Hey everyone, this is PM Sport Talk, the father and son duo podcast. I'm your host Preston, alongside my father Mike and Dad. How are we doing today?
Hey, I'm doing great. It's that time of year. A little March Madness action. I'm ready to get into it. Let's go.
This is like almost Christmas morning in sports. Selection Sunday was yesterday as the day. Today, Monday, we are recording this, Monday, March 17th. And there
St.
were...
Patrick's Day.
Yes. Many thought that this would be a bracket where there wouldn't be much surprises, but it actually was the opposite. Before we go over our picks and that whole shenanigan, I want to talk about some of the big stories from Selection Sunday. Number one being North Carolina, who is 1-12 in the Quad 1, made the tournament.
Yeah, that's what everybody's talking about today. Nobody thought they were getting in. And we knew pretty quick in the process, like they were within the first couple minutes, we knew that they were in the tournament. In the play-in game or the first four with San Diego State, they get the right to play. Who do they play? I forget now. But anyway, they get in, like you said, 1-12 in the Quad 1s. Their only Quad 1 victory was against UCLA, who's a decent team. They're a tournament team. Mm-hmm. But they were 0-5 against the top teams in their conference, Duke, Louisville, and who's the other one?
Duke, Louisville, Clemson.
Clemson, right. There's 4 teams out of the ACC that made it. Those 3 teams, they were 0-5 against them, including 0-3 against Duke.
Yeah.
Which, is not a big surprise. Duke is a really good team. They're probably if Cooper Flat, they are the number one in the AP poll. They're not number one in the tournament, but they're a really good team. But the next team that got left out was West Virginia.
Yeah.
And they had
a way better resume. North Carolina this year, I'm looking 13-7 in their conference, which doesn't sound terrible, but the ACC was very weak. And as you mentioned, the 3 good teams from that conference, Duke, Louisville, Clemson, those 3 teams are tournament teams. UNC didn't beat them. They did very poorly against the competition in the ACC. Then of course, they took care of most of the other teams. But, a lot of people were very upset about, in particular, West Virginia.
Yeah, they're the first team left out, and they had 6 Quad 1 wins.
It's more than UNC by 5.
And I believe one of the things that they said on the selection committee said was Tucker DeVries, who is their best player and the coach's son for West Virginia, got hurt in December and hasn't played since. So they're kind of doing like they did to Florida State in football.
Yeah, if you remember that.
Remember that last year?
Jordan Travis, he went down a leg injury and they got left out. So it seems like now the committee is really considering players being injured, and that has to do with them being put in the tournament.
That's what they said, but the big difference between this and that with the Florida State football, they lost Jordan Travis with like 2 games left in the season.
Yeah.
West Virginia played 3/4 of their season without Tucker DeVries.
And they put together a very good resume.
They won 4 Quad 1 games without him. They beat Gonzaga and Arizona with him. And then they beat Kansas. They beat Kansas without him, and they beat another really good team without him in that conference. And they had 2 other Quad 1 wins. I think it was they beat Iowa State, who was
they're a 3 seed in this year's conference.
Who was a 3 seed who lost their best player. They just lost their best player who's not going to play. They just lost him recently. They're a 3 seed, but yet you leave West Virginia out, who played the whole season without their best player, and had 4 Quad 1 wins without him, and they finished 10-10 in that league, which is a very good league. They finished 4th or 5th in the league. So that's just, they're saying they're saying North Carolina, which is true, played one of the hardest schedules of all in college basketball this year. They played Auburn. They played Duke, obviously 3 times. I think they played Michigan State. They played they had a top 5 schedule, but they lost to every one of those teams.
If you have a hard schedule and that makes no sense. The committee is an absolute joke, and if you watch by the way they answered those questions, that was some.
Yeah, just the way they answered them made it even harder, even worse, I think.
Yeah,
because they didn't. It's like they didn't think about. They had to know they were going to get asked those questions when they put West Virginia or North Carolina in over West Virginia.
And that one guy on the committee, he is a athletic director for North Carolina, and he was saying, "Oh well, I was out of the room for that one,"
which he was. That's what they do. But
yeah, well,
but still,
yeah,
what it seems like is, even though he's the committee chair, he's the head guy.
Yeah,
but there's a lot of athletic directors in there. He was the chair, the head guy for this year's committee, and obviously, when they talk about North Carolina, he has to leave the room, so there's no bias.
Yeah.
But all those other guys that are in there, guys and gals that are in there, are with this guy for a whole year, talking to him for a year's time, talking about the tournament, and then once the season starts, they're talking about the tournament. They meet, they talk about the tournament, and then in the last few weeks, they meet a lot. And to put this whole thing together, there's a lot of work. So you can't tell me that those other guys maybe they didn't do it on purpose, but it's human nature kind of that, he's the guy for North Carolina, he's the chair. Maybe they're like, well, it is North Carolina, and they had the toughest schedule, so, they kind of justified it that way.
Yeah.
If I was on that committee, I would be like, I would go out of my way to make sure that I didn't look like that. You know what I mean? Like there was any bias at all.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's close, it really wasn't that close because they didn't have the quad 1 wins. So it's just weird. And
I saw earlier today, West Virginia's governor is actually taking legal action.
Which I think is stupid, too.
That's not going to do anything, but...
He's probably just doing that to get favor with his, constituents there.
Yeah.
You know how that goes with politics, but it's a basketball tournament. The governor doesn't need to, get involved in a basketball tournament. Let's get real. But still, it just goes to show you how much people love this tournament and, they have really strong feelings about it. And the committee did a lot of weird things with seeding, too. Louisville, from that same conference, who just played in the championship game against Duke, who was actually leading at halftime, they were, top 10 in the country, I think. They're 18-2 their last 20 games. They're an 8 seed. Can you figure that one out?
Yeah, some of these seedings don't make any sense at all.
They're an 8 seed. Then you got Wisconsin, who's a 3 seed, and you got Michigan, who just beat them twice. They beat them twice, and they just beat them for the Big Ten tournament championship.
Well, they don't just base it off of conference. You're naming all of conference tournaments. You are not naming what they have done outside of their own conference.
Yeah, I get that, but
Michigan, they're fine. They should be grateful they're a 5 seed. They have been terrible until the Big Ten tournament.
That's not.
Yes,
they finished 3rd in the conference.
It doesn't matter. Did you see how they finished their season?
Yeah, they lost a few games at the end, but
to all good teams. Maryland in this tournament, Michigan State in this tournament. They've lost to. I'm sure there's other people.
They're 25-9, and it's not like they're. It's not a big deal, but to me, they should be ranked higher than Wisconsin.
Oh my gosh, no, not a chance. Wisconsin has a top 10 player in the country. And Wisconsin, they've also put together a good resume as well. They have the same record.
Yeah, but Michigan beat them twice.
So
I mean, it's not a big deal, but
they would probably go to the head-to-head if it was a tiebreaker.
yeah. There was one other seeding that was weird too. I forget which one. Geez.
Let's go to the bracket. Maybe it'll refresh your
let's
memory.
go to that bracket. Let's go to the.
Maybe it'll refresh your memory. Go to the March Madness bracket, and we'll see how these seedings took place. Here we go.
Yeah. You want to just go region by region?
Wait, what is Texas A&M's record this year? Are they really that good to be a 22-10 and a 4 seed?
Well, it's SEC bias big time in this.
That is something else. I
mean, Texas got in, and they're 6-12 in the league. I mean,
this SEC, yeah.
14
I mean, they don't even try to hide it anymore. If you really look at it,
14 teams made it. I mean, they should have the most teams because that league was really good this year.
Mm-hmm.
But I think 14 might be a stretch.
Yeah, it's no might. That is a stretch. That's a tournament record, by the way, for most conference teams. This is the most teams from a conference we've ever seen.
I'm not positive, but is there only like 2 teams from that league that didn't make it?
Probably. There's only so much in each
Isn't there
conference.
like 16 teams in that league?
Yeah. I think only 2 teams from the SEC didn't make this tournament.
I know LSU didn't make it, and
LSU, because Mississippi State made it, Alabama,
Mississippi, right?
Yeah. Who else is in there? Oklahoma made it. Aren't they SEC too?
Yeah, they made it. Texas made it. Like 14 teams made it. I think there's only 16 teams in the SEC. I'm not positive.
That is pretty.
Have you ever heard of such thing? Only 2 teams from a conference make it?
I don't think I have. That is crazy.
Yeah, I did not think Texas would make it at 6-12.
I mean, I think in that first 4 matchup they're going to lose to Xavier. That Xavier team's good.
Yeah,
they're hot recently. So
we're going to see in this tournament how everybody thinks that the SEC is the best. Yes, and they are. They've had the most success. They have the 3 teams that are really, really good. But I'm not so sure the rest of that conference is as good as they think it is.
So I think we can start doing this now. What I want to do, we look at this tournament. We go, region by region, pick out some matchups, and just give it a little bit of a look.
Yeah, the South
And
region.
then I have my bracket all set so we can go over who we think out of each region can go far, Cinderellas, Final Fours, all that good stuff. I mean, right here, we can start with the South. Auburn, they're going to win first round. Let's see, Louisville and Creighton. This one is probably the toughest 8-9 matchup.
Yeah, this is a tough one. A lot of people are like Louisville, but I got to tell you, I like Creighton in this.
I don't. I think Louisville has been too good recently. They're 18-2. Like you said, in their last 20 games, they put together a very good conference tournament. So did Creighton, but I don't know. I think my opinion changed about Creighton, seeing how easily they collapsed against St. John's in that championship.
That was almost an impossible game for them to win. That place is rocking, and that's a home game for St. John's. And
it depends, I guess, because that team runs through Kalkbrenner. They have Neal. He's good, but
that's why
that's the thing. Those Creighton guys, they can run. They love to run. They love the fast break. So they're going to force Louisville to play fast, I think.
I think Louisville's going to have a hard time with Kalkbrenner. I mean,
that's the other thing. Kalkbrenner, he is huge. How tall is he? Like 7'1"?
Yeah, I mean, he was the defensive player of the year in the Big East. He blocks everything. I mean, he's a decent offensive player too, and that's why I like Creighton in that game. But that's a really good matchup. That's why I think Louisville got screwed, because that's a hard matchup for a team that finished in the top 10 to have in their first game.
Yeah,
but
I think that will be one to keep an eye on. That's the first game of the tournament.
It is. 12
So
o'clock. Yep.
that will be a very good way to start off this tournament, I think. Michigan and UC San Diego. Dad, I know you're a big Michigan guy, but a lot of people are liking UC San Diego in this game.
Yes, they are. It's that 12-5 matchup where seems like every year there's always a couple 12s that win. So
30-4. I saw that they can score. So let's see. Michigan's going to have the presence of two very big guys, Golden and Wolf.
That's where I think that's going to hurt the San Diego team. I'm going to assume that they don't have a big lineup, and I don't know much about them. They're probably a 3-point team. A lot of these mid-majors are 3-point shooting teams.
That's the thing, though. If you look at Michigan, can they guard the perimeter? I think they can.
I like Michigan in this game. I know there's some UC San Diego people are pulling for UC San Diego, but I just don't see it. No. Too big. Michigan's too big for them.
I think I'll take the down low team, Michigan, and they're gonna have a hard time because this Michigan team, they play good defense. We saw in the Wisconsin game that Big Ten basketball. I'm sure almost all of those teams preach defense before anything. So if you can't score on that, then you're gonna have a hard time winning.
They'll have to play fast if they want to beat them.
Let's take a look at this next one. Yale and Texas A&M. Those boys from Yale. Remember, this was the exact seeding last year. Auburn number 4, Yale 13. Yale pulled off the upset.
Can they do it 2 years in a row?
People think they can.
I've heard that.
I think so. I think this is a very overrated Texas A&M team. Obviously, they have Wade Taylor, but he shoots a lot of shots. We saw it last year in the Houston game when Wade Taylor is a make or miss superstar, if you get what I mean. He takes a lot of shots. It just depends if they are going in or not, because when he shoots off, Texas A&M has a hard time because he's the main source of offense for this team.
Yeah, I usually don't pick the Cinderella team 2 years in a row. Like you said, Yale beat Auburn last year. Danny Wolf, who plays for Michigan now, was on that Yale team.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think I'll go with Texas A&M in this one, but I would not be shocked if they lost.
I'll take Yale. This Yale team, I think they have the stuff, they have what they need, the tools to go toe to toe with Texas A&M. I think that would be a very favorable matchup for Yale. Let's take a look at our next matchup. Ole Miss, and the to be determined is the San Diego State and UNC matchup.
Yeah, as much as we all holler for West Virginia to get in over North Carolina because of just the body of work, there's no denying North Carolina has talent. So I actually think they're going to beat San Diego State.
I think
I think they're going to beat Ole Miss.
I'm right with you. The UNC has a lot of talent. They have veterans.
Now, and they are hearing this, and their coach is going to use this. Mm-hmm. Listen, guys, nobody thinks you belong here. They all say you shouldn't have made it. They're going to use that.
If they were smart, they would.
Chip on their shoulder. You watch, they'll make a run. That team's talented. They underachieved.
This UNC first four, this is kind of giving me some UCLA vibes.
Yeah, of a few years ago, yes, sir. Same type thing. I don't think they'll do what UCLA did in the Final Four.
That was incredible. That was very hard to do. But
I would not be shocked if they win 2 or 3 games.
I think they win at least this one against Ole Miss. This should be
beat San Diego State, then beat Ole Miss, and then
I like North Carolina in this game. If they win, of course, the first game. So, I think we don't even need to go over this. I like Iowa State.
Iowa State, yep.
And then we go on to the next game. which looks like we are looking at Marquette in New Mexico. Uh, I think New Mexico is a talented team, and this is a lot closer than people think, but I say don't be fooled. I think the higher seed Marquette should win this game. Not going to say no problem, but I think this game they are correctly favored.
Yeah, I like Marquette. Cam Jones is a handful. I don't see New Mexico stopping him.
Yeah, Cam Jones is incredible, and think about it. If you surround your whole game plan around him, right? You still got guys that can score. David Joplin, Ben Gold, they got threats.
Yeah, they're a good team. Don't let that 7 seed fool you. They might be a little better than that. I can see them. I really love them in this game.
And then our next matchup, which we don't even have to click on, Michigan State. I'm taking them.
Yeah, Michigan State will win that, and then we can move on to the West.
In the West first round, Florida is going to take care of Norfolk State. But let's take a look at UConn, Oklahoma.
This is an intriguing game.
I think so as well. A lot of people see the success of UConn and be like, yeah, there's no way they lose first round. But I'd be careful when you say that Oklahoma has all the tools it takes to take out Dan Hurley's squad.
This is a game where this is a good game where we see the difference between the Big East and the SEC. Give us a good barometer of the two conferences.
SEC, they're big on scoring. And Big East, I think they're big on that scrappy defensive play style.
That's the only thing that might hurt the Big East teams. It depends on the refs, because the Big East, they play, they say it's rock'em sock'em type basketball.
Mm-hmm.
They let them play. They don't call chintzy fouls.
Unless if, you put up a 3-point celebration.
Yeah, well, that's a technical, but
No,
they don't.
I'm kidding.
I know, but so we'll see how. All depends on how it's reffed.
But I'm gonna say take the favor in this one. Go with UConn.
I agree. I'll take UConn in this one. I think it'll be one of those games that's down to the wire.
This is going to be a close game. Don't get me wrong, but I'm liking the defending 2-time champions UConn in this game. Let's move on to the next one, which looks like Memphis and Colorado State. I'm taking Memphis in this game, but at the same time, Colorado State, I think, will give them some trouble early.
This is going to be one of my 12-5 games where I picked the 12 seed.
I was thinking about it.
Colorado State's been on a roll lately and played really well. I got them winning this game, a close one. I haven't seen either one of these teams play this year much until the very end. So
I watched Colorado State play, and I watched the championship game right against Boise State in the Mountain West. But I noticed in that game they got the win, no problem. But at the beginning they were very slow, and it took them a couple minutes to get on the board. And Boise State was killing them early. So I think you got to be better than that against Memphis.
Yeah.
But I don't blame you at all for taking Colorado State. That team is good. It's just going to depend on if Nate Clifford isn't playing to his best, they can find some other guys to give him a spark.
Yeah. I just don't know. Memphis plays in that conference. There's nobody in that conference. I'm not exactly sure what their outer conference was this year, but the Mountain West is a much better conference than that AAC conference or whatever it is.
Didn't Houston used to be in that conference?
Used to be in it, yeah.
They're in the Big 12 now.
In the Big 12 now, so kind of it's a little bit watered down now. So Memphis seems like they're almost always the best team there now. So, but I'm not saying Memphis isn't a good team, but I just don't know. They don't get tested in conference play much.
No.
And so that's why I'm going to go with Colorado State. It'll be a close one, but.
Yeah. Memphis, tough team. That'll be a good game to watch. Let's look next. Maryland Grand Canyon. This Grand Canyon squad last year gave Alabama a small scare.
They were right there toe-to-toe with Alabama. That was one of the best games of the tournament. That game was crazy. I loved watching that game. Alabama pulled it out at the end, but
And I'm saying, don't think twice about this. Let's take Maryland in this one.
I really want to go with Grand Canyon. But Maryland's got that rookie. He's
Derek
really,
Queen.
He is really good. I don't know if Grand Canyon has anybody that can guard him. So
That's exactly why I think I like the Terps in this one. Let's move on to our next one here. Missouri and Drake. You go first. Who do you think's going to win this game?
a lot of people like Drake. I tend to agree. I think I got Drake in this one.
I do as well. Drake, I like them. Mizzou, a 6 seed, 22-11. Another SEC team, by the way.
Yeah, that's. I just like Drake. They're 30-3. That Missouri Valley Conference that they play in is always a good league.
Mark Mitchell is Missouri's superstar, the former Duke Blue Devil.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He's the big guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Drake, I don't know if they have a guy. They
lost DeVries, actually, who we mentioned before, and the coach, and they seem to be doing just fine without him.
Yeah, so I like Drake in this. It'd be one of those upsets, but mild upset.
Yeah, I don't think this is too much of an upset if Drake ends up taking this one. So next game, who do we got in this? Let's see. Next game, we have a no-brainer. I'm taking Texas Tech.
Texas Tech, Kansas, Arkansas.
This one we need to look at.
This is a tough one.
I
have no idea, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I was thinking a lot while filling out my bracket, looking at this game, back and forth. And I think Arkansas is going to win this game.
I can't believe Kansas is 71% favorite.
I just don't see a motivation, if you will, for Kansas. They have been horrible recently, kind of similar to last year. They had a rocky end of their season. Look at Arkansas. I don't know much about them. I know they have Calipari. And second, I know Calipari needs this game.
They've got like 3 guys from that Kentucky team from last year over there now.
And when I say Calipari needs this game, it takes me back to when he went into Kentucky's house, his former team, longtime coach team, and his players played for him and won him that game. And what I see in that is I see Arkansas's squad, their players, they love to play for their coach. I'm sure Calipari does not care how much this means to him. He's only worried about his team. But that shows me, I don't know if I'm making any sense, but that shows me that his players love playing, and Calipari is a very, he can have a good impact on the locker room.
Yeah, he's a motivator.
And I think not just solely that, but this Arkansas team plays tough, and I think Kansas goes out first round.
Kansas reminds me a lot of North Carolina, where they underachieve, but they still have a ton of talent. So you just never know when that's going to click. Sometimes it clicks in the NCAA tournament. So that's why this game is so hard for me. I'm probably going to lean towards Kansas because they're bigger, I think. Hunter Dickinson, say what you want about him, but he is talented. He can have a game. So,
right.
It's tough. I'm going to lean towards Kansas, but it's a pick'em game. It could go either way, and I think it's another one of those games that comes right down to the end.
I completely agree. That is a tough game. I thought a lot about that one. Let's take a look here. St. John's in Omaha. St. John's is, I think they take care of this no problem.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't know much about Omaha, but I would be absolutely stunned if they beat St. John's.
Yeah, that can take us right into our next region, which is going to be led by number 1 seed Duke. And scroll up, like all the way up. There. Duke.
That's a no-brainer. That's
Well, yeah, I'm just saying that's their number 1 seed in that region. Yep. Let's take a look. Mississippi State and Baylor. I think Baylor is ranked a little high for being 19-14. I like Mississippi State in this one.
Yeah, I do too. Well, you know what? I think I'm going with Baylor in this one.
Baylor?
Yep. I got Baylor. Tough one. Another 8-9, another great 8-9 matchup.
Yeah. They got VJ Edgecombe and Norchad Omier. And then you got Mississippi State's Hubbard. He's got almost 19 points per game. I think this is a very close, 8-9. That could go either way. So I don't really have much to say about this game. I guess the game will do the talking. Oregon and Liberty. I heard the guys on CBS talking. Liberty, I thought they haven't lost when the other team doesn't put up 90 points.
Is that real?
I guess so.
Wow.
20-0 when the other team doesn't put up 90 points.
That's crazy.
So the Oregon Ducks are
not putting up 90.
Favored. I could have misheard it, but
it was 90 or is it 70?
80 or 90.
80 or 90. Either way, it's still a lot of points. I
know it was above 70, but I'm still taking Oregon in this game. I don't really want to fall for Liberty, but
yeah, I got Oregon.
It's a 12-5 matchup that they try to overhype, I think. And then in the next one, Arizona's going to win that, I think, no problem, against an Akron squad. BYU and VCU.
I got BYU. They're a really good team.
Yeah, I got BYU there, but that game is not a runaway.
No,
as you can see, they are only favored by -2.5.
Yeah, VCU is good. BYU is a really good team. They're playing that game out there in the West in Denver. It's just what BYU can practically walk to the game. So I really like them.
I like Wisconsin.
Big time over Montana.
And then this one is tough.
Another tough.
St. Mary's and Vanderbilt.
I got Vanderbilt.
I'm thinking about it. St. Mary's, they
never really do good in the tournament.
No, yeah. They're always good in the regular season, but
they just got beat by Gonzaga again in the conference tournament. And
yeah, that's another conference that doesn't play very they aren't like big on the scoring. As you can see, as we mentioned, SEC is a scoring conference. Their best player, Edwards, he averages 17 points per game, Jason Edwards. And then St. Mary's best player, Marcelonis, 14.3 points per game.
Yeah, I like Vandy in this one.
I'm going to take Vanderbilt. Like I said, I'm never fooled by St. Mary's just because their past tournament success has not been very good. All right, next game I don't really think we need to take a look at.
No, that's Alabama and a romp.
Just saying this, not having to do with that game, but I know a lot of people are probably high on Alabama to win this whole thing. One thing to keep in mind, if you did not know already, this team will probably be for at least a couple games without Grant Nelson, and you know how impactful he is.
That's true. I totally forgot about that. That could level that a little bit.
I think Alabama takes care of Robert Morris, but going on against the more tougher teams, that is not good news if you're a Bama fan.
Not at all, no.
But let's move on here to our next game. I think this takes us to the next region. Sure does. Houston takes care of too much letters. Gonzaga and Georgia. Another 8-9, and I don't like Georgia in this one. I'm taking the Bulldogs. Or excuse me, Gonzaga.
Yeah, I got two Bulldogs.
I had to be more specific. Guess I didn't realize, but yeah, Gonzaga I'm taking in this one.
It's a tough one. Georgia beat St. John's this year.
I know, but
that's way early in the year.
Georgia, as of late, has been poor, so that's why I like the Zags. I'm not positive. I'm pretty sure they won their conference or came pretty close.
Yeah, they won the tournament.
The tournament I meant. Yeah. So
I'm gonna go with the Bulldogs or Georgia in this one.
Jeez. But
I
yeah,
got Georgia in this one. I'm not sold on Gonzaga this year.
Clemson and McNeese. A lot of people are falling for McNeese again. I never fell from last year, and I'm not falling from this year. This Clemson team is too good.
This team almost made it to the Final Four last year. They're really good. Too tough of a team. Yeah, I got them.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna look more on that. Let's go to the next game. We've got Purdue and High Point, and Dad, I'm taking the 13 seed High Point in this one.
A lot of people are. This is a tough one because Purdue notoriously has bad luck in this tournament.
Yeah.
Last year is the only year that they did good.
Mm-hmm. And they had a dominant big man, Edey.
Yeah, that was the only reason. Purdue can shoot the ball. They're kind of. I'm going Purdue, but I would not be shocked if High Point beat them. Not at all.
Yeah. That's going to be a tough one. Probably don't sleep on High Point. Our next one we look at here, it's going to be Illinois versus the winner of Texas Xavier, and this is going to depend who wins that first four matchup. If Texas wins, I think I'm going to take Illinois, but if Xavier wins, I'm taking Xavier.
Yeah, Illinois is another one of those teams that's kind of underachieved. Yeah, I'm going to go Xavier. I think Xavier beats Texas, and they beat Illinois.
Yeah, I like Xavier on that, at least that first round. So our next game we look at here in this region, or the final region, I guess, is Kentucky and Troy.
Yeah,
and
Kentucky all the way.
I would hope they don't lose to Troy. That would be something, huh? I might say that they're cursed in this tournament if they lose this game. But yeah, I'm liking Kentucky, but who knows at this point. UCLA and Utah State. I like UCLA in this one.
I do too. Utah State's pretty good, but
yeah, I think they'll give them a scare.
But I'm with you. UCLA.
I like UCLA in this tournament because they've proven that they can stand toe to toe with some of the big guys in this tournament, the big dogs. So I like UCLA winning first round against Utah State. Next one is a no-brainer in my opinion. That's Tennessee.
Yep, Tennessee. No issues there.
So we go over the first round. We're not gonna go over this whole tournament. Too much games to predict. But I want to like talk about some of our. What do we think about this whole bracket? And if we go and predict, what do we think some stories could be coming out of this tournament?
Well, I think out in the West, I really like a Florida St. John's final in the West.
Mm-hmm.
I really feel like that's on a collision course. With my heart, I'd pick St. John's, but with my head, I would pick Florida. I think they're just too good.
Right.
So I'd have Florida winning that, but I think that'd be a great matchup of offense against defense. And, just Pitino is a great coach, so you just never know.
Yep.
But
he won a natty with this play style.
I like that. The South, I don't see a big challenge to Auburn, do you? In the South?
The only one I'd say is Michigan State.
Is it Michigan State? I'd say that's a collision course too. Michigan State and Auburn.
Yeah.
I would not be shocked though if Auburn. One of these years they're gonna do it though. Don't you think? They keep losing early in the tournament.
Yeah, I don't know when they're. Yeah, because don't forget though. Remember that year when Virginia won that Final Four matchup? They were a foul on Kyle Guy away from going to a national championship.
Yeah, that was the year for them. That bracket's really.
Bruce Pro was there too, wasn't he?
Yeah.
That game, yeah. That was a tough loss for sure. Yeah, Auburn and Michigan State. I think, obviously, nothing. You don't know what could happen in this, but I think that should be, barring something crazy, should be the Elite Eight matchup in this region.
Yeah, I totally agree. That one's pretty predictable. Like the other ones, maybe not, but
Yeah, this West region, or excuse me, yeah, the
we did
the East, the one with Duke.
Yeah.
Go over what you think is going to be. I think the Elite Eight matchup for that will be Duke and Alabama.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you there. I just don't think anybody can challenge Duke. I don't think Alabama can either. Unless Flag is not healthy. If he's not healthy, then they're beatable. They still have a ton of talent, but if he's healthy, if he's close to 100%, by the time they get out of this first round, then I think Duke's almost a lock for the Final Four.
I would have to agree with you there. I have them in my personal Final Four. And then the Midwest region, who do you got in that Elite Eight matchup, the final?
Let's see. We got Houston. I got Houston, Tennessee. I don't see any reason not to pick those two teams.
I'm going to disagree.
You're going to disagree, huh? Tennessee can be spotty. I know their offense isn't always there. That's a tough one because Houston's not a great offensive team either, and that's defense against defense there. So, I'm going to go Houston, Tennessee. I know I'm taking ones against twos, but I just don't love any of the other teams in there. Maybe Clemson? Is that who you're thinking?
I'm thinking Clemson, Tennessee, and to add on to that, Clemson wins that game and goes to the Final Four.
I wouldn't be shocked.
They're my lowest seed in this Final Four that I put together.
There almost always is at least one. That's not
Yeah.
It's never a one, all ones or all twos.
That's exactly why. I think Clemson, I think they have what it takes to do it, too. I don't think that is at all unreasonable.
They beat Duke this year. I mean, they're a very good team. They almost did it last year. So, yeah. Watch
out for them. I'm not falling for McNeese, and to add on to that, Clemson's going to go a long way, I think, in this tournament. Because with that, you said Houston. I love that they have a very good defensive team, but there are two things that scares me. One, I'd say how they balance their scoring. They tend to do a lot of one thing. They don't really have to have the balance. And two, their best out-of-conference win this year is against Syracuse.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know how that's going to go in this tournament, but I'd say Houston goes to the Sweet 16 and then loses to Clemson in my bracket.
Yeah, I would not be shocked.
And I guess we'll just go ahead and say what we look at for our Final Fours.
Yeah, I've got Florida. I'm gonna go Tennessee. I'm gonna go Duke, obviously, and then the other region is the
East, all the way at the top on the left.
Duke's in the East, right?
No, Auburn and Michigan State.
Auburn and Michigan State. I'm gonna go Auburn. So I got Auburn, Tennessee, Duke, and Florida.
All right, my Final Four, I'm looking at Florida, Michigan State, Duke, and Clemson. And do you know what your natty will look like?
I'm gonna have Florida against Duke. Florida wins.
Florida against Clemson, and Florida wins in mine. I really like Florida this year. They are such a dangerous team.
They're on a roll. They beat everybody. So.
And if you look at, they have three great outside scoring threats, along with Alex Condon, one of the best centers in the country.
Yeah, they're loaded.
This is a tough team to beat, for sure. I really am looking forward to watching March Madness as always. With that, let's head into our plays of the week. Our first play of the week comes from the NBA. The Pacers run for Verts for the win. Halliburton got it and won.
What a play. I'm not so sure he didn't travel, but it's still a hell
Oh, of course you would say that because Mad Dog said it.
I don't know. That's an NBA travel, I guess. And, in college they would have called that.
Not a travel in my opinion. And I don't know if you remember, but Indy ran that same play against the Celtics in the game they got eliminated. That is clean in my opinion.
That is close.
But without the travel, that is one heck of a shot. Yeah.
It's such a good play.
Over Giannis.
Yeah, it's a great play.
Louisville Stanford Hepburn for the win. Got it! Shucky Hepburn saves the day for Louisville.
What a play.
Stanford's guys, they threw that away. Look at this. They get the rebound, force the pass right into the hands of Hepburn for a wide open mid-range jumper.
Why was he throwing that?
If I'm him, hold that and take that to overtime.
Well, I guess it kind of got poked out of his hand. But...
That is one heck of an ending and a heck of a month for March. Coming from Knicks in Portland, a lot of NBA stuff in the month of March. It's the Knicks and Blazers, 3.4 in overtime. Bridges gets it to Hart, wrap around, wide open three for the win. Got it! Mikal Bridges wins the game for the Nova Knicks.
What a play from Bridges.
That was beautifully executed, wasn't it?
Yeah, inbound. You always got to watch that inbounder.
The center picked him up, and that was an easy three for an NBA player, I'd say.
Yeah, that was an awesome play. He's been playing better, hasn't he?
Yeah. Here we go. Michigan, Maryland. It's off to Donaldson. Goes the length of the court over Queen. And he's going to win the game for the Wolverines.
What a play. The only thing they had was him going the length of the court, and he did it.
The Auburn transfer, and man, this whole tournament, he has been huge.
He has. He's been kind of shaky all season, but he's been great in these last few games.
Look at that. Look at the speed.
Like, nobody picked him up. It's like...
I mean, like you said, gotta watch that inbounder.
Yeah, perfect play.
Well, Dad, I'd like to ask you, who was your biggest disappointment and top performer this week?
Well, my biggest disappointment has nothing to do with basketball, but I'm going to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers and how they handled their quarterback situation so far in free agency, letting Justin Fields walk, and now we have no idea what we're doing. That's my biggest disappointment. Hopefully something good will come from this. I don't know what. Maybe they have a grand scheme that we're not aware of, but they'd be my biggest disappointment. My biggest surprise or achievement goes to R.J. Lewis Jr. of the St. John's Red Storm. Played another awesome game, championship game, Saturday night against Creighton. He was voted he's the biggest player of the year, most outstanding player in the tournament. Carrying that team now, he's really become a big-time scorer. He is my player of the week.
I like that. I'm going to put for my biggest disappointment probably going to be UNC and Jalen Withers against Duke. The lane violation, and that would have been a huge win. But luckily for them, they have a chance to make up for it in this tournament.
Yeah, everybody thought that was their death nail, but
guess not.
And
then for my top performer from Florida and Tennessee, he has been amazing all year long. Walter Clayton Jr. They have a lot of scoring threats, but he is definitely their best threat. He was there last year. Now he's there this year, and he's been letting it up for the Gators this year. And he's my top performer.
Yeah, great player. He's one that kind of got away from St. John's because he was at Iona with Rick Pitino. Surprised he didn't get him to go to St. John's, but he didn't. Surprised. Maybe Maybe he always wanted to go to Florida. I don't know. But that's great. He's been great.
Well, with that being said, this is the end of today's podcast. Once again, I'm Preston with my father, Mike, and we will see you guys next time. Goodbye.